Noticing a lot and been noticing and not the only one to notice. Certainly not the most eloquent on the subject. And supremely stirred up. Working on decentering my stirred up so I can talk the way I want to talk. In this case, be a little calm. If Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, Chief Joseph, if any of those Indians, Native Americans, indigenous people, of which I am one, I'm white passing, not fully indigenous, but enough to get a scholarship before Reagan could kill him to go to college. What's happening over in Palestine and Israel has happened many times. This isn't me diminishing that. This is me pointing out, not a hot take, not the first, not the most eloquent with this message. But this is me pointing out for those of you who have no direct tie to the harm or the benefit of anyone over there other than what you're watching is that fucking outrageous thing. It's inhumane. It's ridiculously, obviously evil. And if Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, you know, the guy that kicked Custer's ass, and Sitting Bull who wounded knee, one of the reason whenever there's a school shooting or any other event, the reason they have to say in modern history, the most number of people killed in modern history is because in previous history they were Native Americans or other marginalized groups. There are Chinese encampments. There's all kinds of history of Chinese encampments, of black folks, of indigenous groups being murdered, massacred, en masse. This has been happening all over the world. In this country, if you're not tied to the stuff that's happening over there in Israel and Palestine, and you're so outraged, please consider where you could put your energy. Along with, I'm not trying to take away from anybody, along with people who are marginalized and put on land against their will and had their land stolen against their will and have no ability to do free trade with the world because this country won't let them. You're here. You're here. This is the place, the United States. Google what chiefs said in speeches while Lincoln is lauded for his amazing speeches and his amazing moments. Pretty problematic guy when it comes to Native Americans. There were also Native American chiefs speaking about the benefit to humanity, not just the white man and their little savage friends. You know, slaves and the indigenous. It's here. It's here where you could have an impact. And when all of this dust up goes around to its whatever conclusion, it'll still be here where you can have an impact on decolonizing your mind, on reading from actual indigenous and black authors about history, about understanding. I mean, till the 90s, there was no way for us to get to the internet. And for a lot of us, till 10 years ago. I never had a smartphone until 2007. I mean, come on. We're right here. It's because you can see all of it that you want, and because you want humans, hopefully, to live. From Avatar. Those guys are coming. The military came. Given the guy who came to negotiate for them to sell their planet was given the same name as the guy who negotiated with Sitting Bull to sell his land, and he wouldn't do it. So, getting your unobtainium, it's all an allegory for what happened to the Lakota. The tree that gets cut down, Mount Rushmore, is the equivalent there. The Na'vi are the Lakota. And the U.S. Anyway, look close to home. Look at, just decolonize your mind. Start with checking out history that's actual history, not whitewashed crap they still teach. Check out what happened to native tribes. Not only were they shuffled away, their children were stolen, and we're getting closer and closer, as Canada is discovering, to finding these schools and unmarked graves of thousands of children. My family history has those hellish, remarkably horrible whitewashed schools cutting everybody's hair, not letting them speak in their language, not letting them dress in their clothes. Over 1,500 women went missing the same summer as that pretty little blonde girl who got murdered by her boyfriend. Nobody said a word. Of course, what happened to her is horrible. And for those of you who actually mean it, I hope you'll consider finding out. Google is not the end-all be-all, that's for sure. But you could start there. There is so much data that we have access to now, there's no excuse for not understanding or knowing the truth. Or at least finding authors who can tell you. We have the ability to teach ourselves. I've been hiding from it. I admit it. There's a lot I don't know. Right now I reside on stolen Calusa land. I do know that. Might you consider finding out whose land you're sitting on? That's a good way to start.